Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second online talk show that we are hosting, thanks to the wonderful platform Meetup and Hydration Nation Health and Wellness, and obviously, my business that I've been really trying to get exposure out there on and get as many eyes on. It's Water Just Ain't Water, and what we aim to do is to try and connect as many people as possible as we can in the health and wellness space. We obviously do our one-on-one meetings in Neutral Bay with the potential to move into the city at some point. But we also want to do these live webinars as well for people all over the world that obviously can't access these meetings that are just in Sydney. So today I've brought a really good friend of mine that I met really recently and I've started to get to know quite well, is Cristina Williams. She's a super mum and she's really big into health and wellness. And I wanted to bring her on to share with us what she's working on and to give us a little bit more of an idea of who she is and what she's working on at the moment. So you're more than welcome to jump on, Cristina, and go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what you're doing these days. How are you?
Okay. Thank you, Ben, and thank you. Congratulations, firstly, for all the amazing work you do. From the moment I met you, I just absolutely, I'm a big fan of your passion and your knowledge. So I think, yeah, you're really contributing to the world and moving things forward, helping people get access to good information. So that's awesome. Super mum, I don't know about that, but I do have a bunch of kids. So I'm based in Brisbane.
It's not just two. How many kids have you got?
I have 6 boys. I do have 6 boys. And yeah, that's a big crowd, and a dog. I don't know if that counts, but and we live a crazy life. We have we live between Brisbane, Australia, and Phoenix, Arizona. Long story, not going to go into it, but we basically live and move between both countries constantly. So I guess, you know, the world's changed now, and one thing I do love about my business is that I'm always on the road, I'm always on the go, and I love that these days all you need is a laptop and some Wi-Fi and you can be connecting with people.
So what got you into the health and wellness space?
Honestly, since I was a tiny little girl, I always wanted to be in the work of healing people, helping people heal themselves. I remember always having that kind of mission. I wanted to study medicine. I went and studied physiotherapy and then health science. And I got accepted into medicine, but then started having a million children, as we've already mentioned. So I got sidetracked, but life has a funny way of bringing you right back to where you start. And I had, can you hear me okay? Is the connection okay?
The video is lagging a little bit, but the sound is fine.
Yeah, that's what I was finding with you. Okay, cool. So yeah, funny how life brings you right back. In 2014, I had a dear friend of mine who was diagnosed with a very advanced condition, rapidly dividing cells through his body. So it was a lymphoma, which is like blood cancer. And well, not exactly blood cancer, but it starts in the lymph and it spread, in his case, everywhere. And it was through doing some research to try and find a way to help our friend with alternative options that I got kind of sucked back into the medical field. So that's how it went. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. One of my kids has left their phone next to me. Speaking of all these children. Yeah, so it was through a friend's experience. He had been put basically into palliative care. He had had 2 years of chemotherapy and everything else. And they said to him, we can't do anything else. It was through that I went exploring, asking the question, is there anything else we can do when we run out of hope?
Yeah. I love it. And so you work very closely with like the science behind like how our cells like sort of try to heal themselves, or at least alternative medicines that we have access to now, that's really changing the game.
Yeah.
I'd love to, you know, like hear more and share more about that with the guys.
Okay, so firstly, yeah, thanks again for being somebody that's getting the word out there about helping the body heal itself, because I think ultimately the way that medicine is moving forward, it's moving forward away from just kind of putting, you know, drug, you know, cover-ups over our symptoms and kind of just treating symptoms and management of disease. It's certainly moving away from that and moving towards more preventative approach and holistic approach. And even people who are seeing traditional doctors usually still explore holistic medicine and lifestyle changes. What we're seeing now, I think, as we move forward, is that we're realizing that the body does have a lot of the secrets already. If you and I hurt ourselves, like if I, you know, cut my hand on something, or I fall over, or I get a cold, my body generally has the ability to heal itself. And that happens, if you look down at the cellular level, our cells are doing that every single millisecond. That happens every single second of the day. Our cells are repairing themselves, cleaning themselves. The dangerous ones get killed and then destroyed and replaced. And in 1998, most people don't know it, but there was a really significant breakthrough in medicine when 3 Italian scientists were given a double Nobel Prize for the discovery of the molecules that are responsible for that cell regeneration.
Right.
And this group of molecules, right, they're called redox signaling molecules. We have them in our bodies, and they're responsible for every time our cells heal themselves. That's really simplistic, but trying not to get too much into the biochemistry. Yeah. But every time that our cells repair, it's due to these molecules. Now, the sad part, this is the bad news, is that our levels of this decline as we age.
Yep.
And they are declining faster right now with all the toxicity in the environment, which you're well aware of. Our mitochondria suffer so much more trying to keep up, and our levels of these redox molecules decline. And that has been now linked with so many diseases in around 18 to 19,000 studies in peer-reviewed journals, making links between our ability to repair ourselves and this mountain of diseases that we are seeing a crisis of around the world. So, yeah, I really wanted to look at this field because I think that our health really is the foundation, is at the cell level. If we have healthy cells and we find a way to keep those cells healthy, we can find a way to keep our bodies healthy.
Yeah. And I know that it's a lot harder these days, you know, than after the Industrial Revolution, you know, like processed foods, different kinds of, like, the way that we sort of run our lives is completely different to, like, say what we did like 30, 40, 50 something years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I think I posted a video definitely on my Facebook page. I was with Dr. Paul Clayton, who was talking a lot about, you know, Victorian, you know, like settlers, like people that were living, you know, like especially like in England, you know, 40, 50, 60 years ago. They, like, if we put someone like up against, you know, another person like that was back in their time, like they were, by all standards, much healthier than we were, because you know, they were always doing physical activity. They were always, you know, at work and back at the house. You know, they definitely weren't having processed foods. They weren't, you know, abusing alcohol. They had a pretty fine line to work with.
That's right.
So these days it's a lot harder. It's like I struggle massively.
I was going to say, even people who are making a really big effort, it's still hard to avoid, because it's not just what you put in your mouth. It's the chemical products you put into contact with when you wash the dishes, the shampoo, You know, if you step into a major city right now and you breathe the air for 15 minutes, you've absorbed as much toxicity as our grandparents did in a lifetime. A 5-year-old now has consumed, the average 5-year-old has consumed the equal amount of sugar that their grandparent would have consumed in their whole life. You know,
In what, like baby food?
Yeah, the amount of sugar. Now you can imagine, like, the compound effect. Our bodies haven't changed. We're still living in the same bodies that we had 200, 300 years ago. The environment has changed severely. And so when we look at the last 50 years and we look at the trajectory of most diseases, autoimmune conditions, neurodegenerative conditions, cancers, all the autism, you know, it's not our genetics failing us. It is the environment. Of course, there's genetic factors, but the massive change has been the environment. And the future of health belongs to people that can find ways to combat this environment that we live in and make our bodies stronger, able to cope. And that's the work that excites me. I mean, speaking in terms of, you know, wanting to position yourself in the growth industry, you want to find companies that are looking at ways to, you know, they call it the superhuman, create a stronger capacity body.
Yeah.
And this is real.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know that there's a lot of sort of windows to sort of like look at, like, as far as, you know, like window shopping for, you know, different types of supplements or like natural products that, you know, that really aid that kind of process to help the body to try and repair and defend itself. I'd love to like share with the guys what you're working on.
Cool. Well, thank you. It does excite me because there is so much research pointing to the importance of this redox signaling molecules that I was talking about earlier. And, you know, we know that there is a crisis because the amount of redox that we would have had for our lifetime if we were living a clean life 300 years ago was fine. But now the demands of the environment are so much higher. So there's a laboratory in the US, in Utah, that are the first and so far only laboratory in the world. This is the company that I work with that have been able to replicate exactly as the body does it, taking saline, which is what our cells are in, have inside of them, and they have replicated these groups of molecules, redox signaling molecules. And in fact, they are a pure health accelerant. They are the fuel that your cells need in order to complete all the chemical reactions that help that cell clean itself, heal itself, repair itself, and make new cells. So we have, for the first time, access to something that will give our bodies a better capacity to really cope. And what we're seeing in people who are using it and clinics that I work with is absolutely extraordinary.
So like, for example, like how do you separate it from like antioxidants or, you know, other types of like sort of supplements that like people might have to either boost their immune system or, you know, like boost, you know, like, what are they called? So you got antioxidants, you got like anti-inflammatories, you've got probiotics. Where does that sort of sit on that scale?
That's a brilliant question. I'm really glad you asked that. And because the health industry is completely filled with some incredible products in terms of those supplements. And I actually thought to myself, I never wanted to go into the health industry because there were so many products out there. And I thought, how am I going to like know which vitamin? And I don't want to kind of, you know, pick one thing when there's so many in competition with me straight away. But redox signaling molecules are different because they're in a completely different category. If we were going to go build a house, let's say that a cell is a house, all the antioxidants, the minerals, the vitamins, they are the materials. They're the wood, the bricks, the wiring, the hammers. Now, all the things that we eat and drink and all the supplements we take, they're materials that are like the food for our cells, that are the materials to make cells and keep them healthy. Redox signaling molecules fall completely outside of that, and they are the workers. They come and use all those materials. Have you ever had somebody who's taking like mountains of supplements, but they don't seem to be getting better? Their bodies just don't seem to change. I mean, I've done that.
Or they like quite easily get sick and quite.
Yeah, and I think like, I don't even know if this stuff's working. And it doesn't matter what you take. It matters what you absorb and what you then use. Now, somebody can have, I could bring all these materials out and put them on the front lawn to build an extension to the house. But unless somebody shows up to work and use those materials,
right.
Unless I have a workforce, I don't have any improvement. And that's the beautiful marriage between Redox and nutritional supplements, the worker and the material. Now, the health industry and the nutrition industry is really focused over here. I was excited about working with a company where it really was a standalone kind of product, you know, without that doesn't exist in the marketplace right now, but that can help everything else work better. Because ultimately, what we want to do is help people actually feel better and get better and stay well. You know, we want to stay well.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, it's not just one pill and, you know, call me.
Absolutely. If somebody has their health right now, you know, as somebody who speaks to sick people a lot, and I see some cases that are heartbreaking, the thing I protect the most is my good health. I'm grateful for it, and I invest in protecting and keeping my health. You know, I think that people are moving towards that kind of conscience where they're not waiting for something to go wrong. They are valuing their good health and they're happy to protect it.
I love it. Well, while we at least have a bit of a live audience on tonight, I've got the group chat open. I don't know if Cristina can see it, but if anybody has any questions so far, you can throw it into the group chat, and, you know, I'd love to, you know, like share them out with Cristina. If you have any questions, I'm sure she'd love to answer them if you have. And so just to continue, now that the plane's gone over finally, we've got a crazy wind coming through, so our house is right on the flight path. It's so annoying.
Oh, cool.
But so, and in terms of like helping people, like, do they specifically have to be, you know, at that particular age when you hit your 30s, 40s, 50s, when your cells start degenerating to really take advantage of something like that?
My 6 boys, they take this product, you know, because as we said before, they're growing up in a different environment. And if I'm happy to just kind of throw them to the wolves and hope that they don't become a statistic, then I wouldn't be making good choices for them. But just as we watch what we eat and we take care of, you know, our cells when we cross the road, I'm taking care of their cells in a very simple way that I can, and it's increasing their redox potential. I know that's what their cells need to work. We have done over around a dozen studies that have shown us some incredible things about what these redox signaling products do in terms of increasing your rate of healing, your protection against free radicals, your protection against bacteria, viruses, your performance of your body, your strength of your immune system, your rate of regeneration. I know already, you know, I trust the science. So there isn't a person that is kind of immune or absolved from not being, not needing to be there, to be in good health. Yeah. When people say to me, I don't need to take anything because I'm not sick, I say, well, unfortunately, we're all part of the same affliction. We're all got this thing called aging. And at around the age of 40, so I'm 40 in a few weeks, at this point right now, I guess maybe it's different because I supplement, but normally I would have half of my redox signaling molecules in my body right now than I did.
Normal circumstances, if you didn't take
that's right, at age 13. Now I know that every single decade people lose another 10%. And that's the reason, like, when you see a 10-year-old and the rate at which they heal, you know, they can run around all day and they wake up feeling fine. And at 40, you can't do that anymore. And then at 85, you know, the rate of healing is so much slower. Like a bruise on an 85-year-old heals a lot slower than a bruise on a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Now we know why, and we can actually speed up that healing. And it's, look, I get stories in every day that give me goosebumps. I had one from England today about a lady who's 93, who had been put into palliative care, who's back at the gym. I mean, she started supplementing about 4 months ago, and she's been taken out of the palliative home she was in, and her son has written to us saying thank you. You know, she's out shopping, she's back at bingo, she goes to the gym 3 times a week. She's 93.
I love that.
That's fantastic. I mean, we're here, you know what, we're here to live well, we're here to feel good. And I know that's not everybody's experience, but there are things we can do about it. And if people
I wanted to rewind for a second, because you actually used a trigger word that really is really the one sort of concept that really spearheaded me into like what I'm working on now, and that was free radicals. Now, like, I honestly don't think that I could walk up to at least 5 people on the street and ask them what free radicals are, and to have them tell me like what is a free radical. And I think it's a very, very important lesson that I definitely want to raise awareness about. And we obviously speak the same language about it. I'd love to hear like your take on, you know, like free radicals, what they are, and like how we can help ourselves as the host of our bodies to try and limit it.
You know, I think the aim with the body is all about balance. You know, whenever we fall out of balance, we fall into sickness. And one really simplistic way of looking at it is that when we have 2 types of molecules in the body, reductants and oxidants. And when we fall out of balance in one direction, we start seeing oxidation, which is like rusting, and that's when free radicals are out there kind of helping us rust and causing damage and literal breakdown of the cell wall, and that causes a whole list of different diseases. And on the other side, you have inflammation. So these 2 extremes are responsible. There's a great website called the redoxdoc.com, and he shows basically most diseases are an excess or out of balance of one of these sides. We do need some oxidation in our body. We do need some inflammation. There are healthy levels of it. But free radicals are produced, and normally our body has the capacity to absorb and neutralize them through the action of antioxidants, which are activated by redox molecules. But when we fall out of balance, we have too much, and they cause damage. The problem goes back to what we said before. The environment that we're in right now is producing them, puts us into contact in such a rapid way, and it puts our body out of balance, and we age prematurely, and we get damaged at a much faster rate than we used to.
Yeah, 100%. I was just going to write the address into the chat.
Oh, let me write it down there.
Because I need to find, I had my notebook.
There we go, theredoxdoc.com. So that's awarded Dr. Robertson Ward. He's a researcher and family practitioner. And so he's actually not affiliated with my company, but he just studies this field.
Yeah.
And it's a really informative website.
I love it. That's fantastic.
It's been such an incredible journey, you know, finding how these little kind of, how life takes you, and these little coincidences really aren't coincidences. I wanted my whole life to be involved in something that was breakthrough. I always wanted to find something that I could, you know, make a real difference in. I knew that the world of of medicine is evolving really quickly, and we have to believe in breakthroughs. We have to believe that new things are coming on. And for me, this was, I call it my Apple moment. You know, like if Steve Jobs had come up to you and said, hey, I've got this cool thing called an iPhone. I think it's going to change the world. Do you want to help me bring this to the world? And, you know, he put that to 5 people in his immediate circle, and 3 of them said no, you know, when he was starting out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and when I saw my friend get better, you know, Danny, who was terminally ill with lymphoma, and I saw him go through a process in 5 months where taking these molecules, I saw his body repair itself. I had that kind of a moment. I thought, you know, I want to be part of bringing this breakthrough to the world, because I do think it has the capacity to change many, many more lives.
Fantastic. And because we don't at this time have any questions, I was going to just ask our friends out there, how do we learn more about what you're working on, and how do we get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, you have my direct number, but let me put my email in the chat, because that's probably an easy way for questions. So yeah, that's christina.acia@gmail.com. Yes. So great. So that's my email, and I'm happy, you know, when people, I love when people are curious. I've got mountains of information for the person that wants to look at the studies, for the person that is excited about the medical aspects. If somebody wants to see some live testimonies of people with diseases they know, or, you know, conditions that they're aware of, you know, someone might be out there curious, could this help with this? Could this help with that? I'm really happy to assess people individually. And also, if somebody is out there that's interested in looking at ways to participate with bringing this to market, you know, that's exactly what we look for. I look to work with visionary people that want to make a footprint on the world that's positive, that want to work in a way that's, you know, global, and want to work their own hours, but we're looking for those visionaries to help us reach more people.
That's fantastic. I love it. Well, I'm actually just getting a 15-minute notification from Zoom that we're going to get shut down because I haven't gone pro yet. But the chat is still open. If anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to jump through. Otherwise, Zoom is going to shut us down in a minute. But we'll leave it open for a minute, or if anybody wants to unmute themselves, you're more than welcome. I'll leave it open for a second. I'll have some water. I'm getting thirsty as.
I was going to add, if somebody wants to look at some, you know, a more in-depth presentation where I review the studies, or where, you know, we cover a number of segments. Obviously, the longevity and anti-aging segment, disease treatment and prevention, the sports and athletic performance. We work with a lot of athletes, even up at the Olympic level, and we even work with animals. So if somebody has a field of interest, I can reach out. We've got different presentations for different groups of people. But sometimes what's most exciting is actually seeing images, you know, seeing people, the before and afters. So I'm really happy to share some of those presentations as well, because I think that's what, you know, what we all come for, like a little bit of the impact.
Yeah, and that extra touch.
Yes, exactly. I can share a couple of images with you on the Zoom here, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
If no one's jumping in with any questions, let me just open up this one here. Tell me if this is sharing properly.
Yep.
These are just some people that, you know, I've used these are 28 days, mostly between one picture and the other. So all we're looking at here is like actual proper new cell regeneration. This is what you see. The product is a drink and a gel, and you can see its applications of the gel. It literally just gives your cells new life. This is a really clear image of that. 4 weeks, and you can see this a lovely 85-year-old's hands. You know, I know this lady personally, and you can see the amazing impact of just being able to trigger the new cells. And of course, it's all happening naturally. You know, we've had studies done that have shown that this improves the arterial elasticity, so it's great for varicose veins. It's wonderful for circulation. This is from one of my French doctors showing me this lady who has a condition where circulation doesn't reach the digits. 10 minutes later it had. Obviously people that have skin issues, you know, I see it's just such wonderful work. You see lives transformed when they get their confidence back through being able to see such significant changes. You know, anything with an infection, I mean, this is one of my kids, that's overnight. Application of the gel, and you can see the wounds start to seize up, heal up. We have a lot of people posting their testimonies about hair growth. Of course, you just give the cell what it needs and it starts doing its job again. This is my mum. You can see in just 15 days the actual sun damage starting to lift, and a significant shift in the wrinkles as well on her neck. You know, this was just 15 days. It's my mother. And then I have a lot of people posting, you know, their testimonies on all our Facebook groups. Actually, this gentleman here is a gentleman from the Gold Coast, also terminal. You can see he had a growth, a tumour on the side of his neck. It was very late when we saw him. I wasn't sure if we would be able to do much, but he's alive and well today. Pretty much as soon as he started taking the Redox, he started detoxing, and that he's cancer free still.
So does it basically like seek out? Like I don't want to use the word cancerous, but like inflammatory, you know, like sort of diseases, you know, like
damage, any kind of damage. People say, why does it work on this, but it works on that? So it doesn't matter if it's a damaged cell that's damaged and it's causing cancer, or if it's a cell that's giving you, you know, a blister on your foot. If the cell is damaged, this is the trigger. This product is not a cure for anything. All we're looking at is the cell actually being able to regenerate new cells and repair itself. The body has the ability to do that when it's given the right tools. This is one of my clients in Spain, and you can see I'm very cautious. It's not a cure, you know. This is her body. As soon as she starts taking the product, you see in the blue, her tumor markers start to decrease, because her cells have finally the ability to start doing the work they're supposed to do. So, you know, as I said, athletes, you know, at all sorts of levels. There's some friends of ours there that he's a gridiron player, Bria Larson, who's an Olympic gold medalist swimmer. The big impact really is across anybody, like an actual body. When we get to the cells, they start performing better. If the cell's damaged, they'll start getting repaired. So it doesn't target any specific disease. It just makes your cells healthy again.
And gives the tools that, gives the cells that like need the most help, gives them the tools that it
basically increases the signaling. Increases the signaling. So redox molecules are the biological messengers. If my house was on fire right now and I couldn't get, it's the fire alarm. But more importantly, it's the cell signal. When I go 911, send me help, that's the equivalent of the redox molecules. If those signals are weak, then my body is healing slowly, like it does for an 85-year-old. if those signals are sharp and I call somebody immediately when there's a first sign of fire, I'm going to get help real quick. Because the body has the tools. The body sweeps in, has the antioxidants, it has the immune system, it brings a flood of platelets to the area. Like, it has the tools to repair cells. But what weakens in the body as we age is the signaling system. You can have a 90-year-old and you switch those signals back on loud and you see some pretty cool stuff happen in the body again.
Fantastic. I love it.
Well, any other questions, and if someone's watching this as a recording, shoot Ben some questions. He probably knows enough about it now to answer them. And if not, I can get to the questions. If we can help anybody, if you know anybody who's struggling with a condition, don't keep it to yourself. Just pass on the information. Absolutely. And, let people make up their own mind, because I know there's people out there praying for options tonight. If anybody's interested in being part of the pioneers of this new industry, then yes, get in touch with Ben or myself, and we'll put you in with the right information.
Absolutely. Point you in the right direction. I love it. It's great. Fantastic. So I think we'll sign off. I'll put this, with your permission, obviously, I'll put this on my YouTube. Makes it a bit easy access. So if anybody wants to especially catch the replay or anything like that, all I have to do is just send you the link and off you go.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me, Ben. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for jumping on. I know you just landed from Spain today and you haven't slept yet. I really appreciate the effort. Thank you so much.
You're amazing. Thank you for having me.
Bye to everybody. Enjoy. Have an amazing night. Chat to you soon.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, Ben.
No, Viola. Thanks for jumping on.